Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Thwala. Thank you so much for joining my online classes. You can as well join my WhatsApp group for more lessons, or you can follow me on my YouTube channel. Alright, today we want to talk about the causes of the French Revolution. Today we want to talk about the causes of the French Revolution. Like we always define that the French Revolution is an extraordinary moment whereby the people wanted to change everything. They wanted to change the society. People wanted to change the economic way, they wanted to change the political way, they wanted to change social work. But today, I don't want to talk much about everything about the causes of the French Revolution. I would like to concentrate on the role played by the philosophers. To me, the philosophers are part of the Enlightenment, and I always say this to my students, that Enlightenment is an extraordinary moment whereby the eyes of the people are opened. Now people are taught not to listen to everything that they are told by everyone, but you have to think for yourself. So today we are going to talk about the philosophers. Remember that the philosophers, they also contributed to the enlightenment of the Frenchmen during the French Revolution. So good people, there are quite a number of philosophers, but today I'm going to talk about three philosophers. One of the first that I'm going to discuss about is Voltaire. It's Voltaire. Make sure that you write this, Voltaire. Alright, make sure that whenever you write questions, you don't write everything about Voltaire, but you try to look for factual, or you try to look for historical illustrations or the things that Voltaire said that caused the French Revolution. For instance, Voltaire attacked the church and other powerful institutions in France. Voltaire attacked the church and other powerful institutions in France. In other words, Voltaire wanted a situation whereby the church in France, there is what we call religious toleration. He wanted to separate the church from the state, isn't it? Remember that in France, the church was a state in its own. So Voltaire wanted the church to be separated from the state. And another thing, Voltaire compared the church in France with the church in England, and he concluded that there are no praiseworthy features in the church in France. So all these things were so contagious to a church like France. Why? Those were contagious ideas because the people, they started to absorb, especially the bourgeoisie, they started to absorb the teachings of Voltaire, and they also campaigned for the church that was similar to the one that Voltaire was writing about. So we see that people, they were now courageous to stand and fight against the church in France. So hence the revolution in France. So basically, make sure that you know the ideas of Voltaire. He advocated for separation of the church powers from the state powers. He also wanted religious toleration, which was absent in France. And another thing, Voltaire, he wanted the Church of France to be similar, to be like the one in England. So we see those teachings were very dangerous in the society of France. Therefore, we are saying this such a teaching was so contagious, and it also led to the outbreak of the French Revolution. And our second philosopher, we want to talk about Montesquieu. Montesquieu was worried about separation of powers. He was worried about separation of powers. He wanted powers to be separated into executive, judiciary, and legislation. So, so basically, what Montesquieu wanted, he wanted a situation whereby there is executive power, which was controlled by the law, or which was controlled by the legislators, whereby the legislators will check the executive power, and the legislators will also checked by the court of laws. When you're talking about the court of laws, we are talking about judiciary. So he wanted a system whereby there are checks and balance. But he started to advocate for such in France. So all that was something terrible. That was bad news to a society like France, whereby the king was an absolute monarch, whereby the king once said that I'm the law and the law is myself. So remember, people, they started to absorb such information, so they started to fight against the ancient system of government. They started to fight against the existing system of government. Why fighting? Because the existing system of government that was in France was an absolute government. It was so, actually, it has got some dictatorial tendencies. Talk about the late cachets. The judicial system was so terrible. So basically, we can say that this idea of Montesquieu of separation of powers also led to the outbreak of the French Revolution, because the people, they wanted to adopt the system that Voltaire was preaching, the system of separation of powers, which was absent in France because of absolutism. because in this system there are checks and balance, but we know that there was no one in France that was checking Louis. Louis was the law. So you see, the philosophers contributed to the outbreak of the French Revolution. And then last I will talk about Rousseau. There's something that I love about Rousseau. Rousseau wanted equality. He wanted everyone to be the same. He wanted everyone to be equal, which was absent in France. Why? Because there was class stratification. I know you guys know about the nobility, you know about the clergy, nobility, and the peasants. Rousseau was against that stratification. He wanted everyone in France to be equal, and another thing, he wanted the Declaration of Rights of Men. So Voltaire was fighting for the rights of men. Remember, all these things were absent. In France, there was let cachets, even the way the land was distributed was not equally. So we can conclude that, so because of these teachings were so contagious. Actually, let me just give a general comment. So basically, guys, the teachings or the ideas that were brought forward by the philosophers that led to the outbreak of the French Revolution, because they opposed everything that was happening in France. So people, because of these teachings, they were eye-opened, people were enlightened to revolt against the monarch in France. But now, something that I want to say before I conclude my lesson this afternoon. To me, I believe that the philosophers, they contributed to the outbreak of the French Revolution to a lesser extent. Why am I saying so? This is because none of the philosophers who preached a revolution, all of them, they wanted the monarch to change. So the philosophers, they contributed to the outbreak of the French Revolution indirectly. Why? Because they never preached, they never said to people, you people stand up and revolt. No, they were saying that the king must be changed. They were saying that the church must be separated from the state. But they wanted change. But however, this also led to a bloody revolution, I beg your pardon for that. So basically, the other thing, remember that the teachings of the philosophers came in writing, and 90% of the Frenchmen were illiterate. So it took the bourgeoisie to read the ideas from the philosophers, and they started to cascade it to the peasants. So it was an indirect process. Other books, they argue that by the time the revolution broke in France, all the philosophers were dead. These are some of the things. I don't know what you think, but you are allowed to say to a greater extent, you are allowed to say to a lesser extent. But I was just giving my opinion that I believe that it was to a lesser extent, looking at the fact that what they did was just indirectly. Make sure that you subscribe to my WhatsApp group or to my YouTube channel to get more of these lessons. Thank you.